What's up, Dowd fam? Really excited. Again. What's up, Dowd fam? Really excited to announce that in 6 weeks, I'm gonna be doing an Everest roam. It's been almost a year since the double Everest, and I finally feel not only ready, but excited to take on a new challenge, and that's what it's gonna be. I'm going to climb the equivalent of Mount Everest on my bike, 29,032 vertical feet, without repeating the same climb. So that means you have to do a crazy point to point, or you have to do a monster loop, which is what I've chosen to do. And what's so cool about this loop is that it also checks off a couple bucket list rides in the same ride. So I'm gonna tell you what those things are and why I've chosen to do it this way, along with take you through the route. And I also wanna tell you what videos you can expect to see over the next 5 weeks to document my training for it. But I'm out here in the beautiful Auburn Canyon, and I gotta get a mountain bike ride in first. So let's get that done, and then we'll go into the details. Just made it to the top of Grizzly, which is one of the most awesome descents back down in Mammoth Bar OHV. You have to forgive me right now, my heart was just at like 177. But I want to tell you guys why I'm doing this Everest roam. And why it really spoke to me is the right option for a real personal challenge. After the double Everest, I thought about what I could do in this 24-hour time frame that was something I was excited about and something I feel like I hadn't done. And 300 miles was the first thing that popped out. I have never ridden 300 miles. I've done multiple double centuries, including the double Everest, which is crazy to think about. But 300 miles stuck out to me, and I was like, you know, I don't really want to just ride flat. I just don't think I would enjoy it very much. So I'd want to ride the mountains. But then I've also heard of people doing an Everest roam, which is Everesting without repeating the same climb. And I knew those routes were huge because they have to be. So I was like, okay, I could probably do that. And I was like, how can we make this really sick? And it's crazy because one other thing that's been on my mind lately has been riding from my house that's in the Sacramento Valley, right at the base of the foothills, all the way up to Lake Tahoe, which is like 70 something miles away, around it and back home. Usually people do it in 2 or 3 days. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna do 300 miles, if I'm gonna Everest roam, I might as well do that too. So it's basically come together to be this total dream ride bucket list thing that would mean a lot to me personally. And I think it would just be something that people talk about, at least from my area, for a while, which I'm not afraid to admit. I think that'd be pretty cool. So that's why we're doing it. Now, I wanna show you guys the route. We'll go into the details, but let's drop into this trail. And at the bottom, I'll let you guys know about the upcoming video series leading up to it. Yes, that was so good. And that right there is why I love mountain biking. You guys don't know, my whole history is on a mountain bike. Growing up, getting on an epic Evo, like a down country type rig, or honestly what's kind of ending up being the normal cross country rig on a trail like that is so much fun, besides the brakes not wanting to stop you. I was thinking about the videos, not while I was ascending, but as I was driving up here, what I really want to do for this series. There's a couple things. So there's this introductory, I'll let you guys know what's up, and then I'm gonna be doing 2 big training rides, like 15K days that are going to be, and it's all gonna be on the road bike, by the way, but 2 15K days that'll be in really cool locations, and those are coming up soon. So that'll be 2 of the videos. One video is gonna be, of course, on my strength training, specifically what I'm doing to make my body durable, just make myself resilient for this ride, to get through it. And then I wanna talk about nutrition and how I'm losing 5 pounds of body fat, which I'm already 2 pounds down since food tracking, and how I'm gonna fuel the ride as well. And also how I'm training while at a deficit, because everyone will tell you that's the worst thing you could ever do to yourself. I don't know, we'll talk about it. So we'll get to the video, we'll have 5. And what's so cool is that EJ, whose channel I was on recently, he just came off the NorCal cycling transformation he did, which was insane, started his own channel, and now he's training for a race in Tahiti. He came out to do a training ride with me in my local area. He really inspired me to just vlog like this, you know, mix information with the vlog style, take you guys on for a journey, because I've kind of had a very hit and miss YouTube strategy at this point. Like I'll try something that's purely informational and it works, and then I'll try something that's super vloggy, and some people like it, but there's not really a point to it, and I haven't really meshed the two. So that's the plan for this whole thing. I hope you guys love it. Those videos are coming out once a week, edited by EJ, and EJ, thanks for the inspo. So let's wrap up this ride, and then I'll take you guys home and we'll go into some of the details on this route. Welcome to my garage. As promised, we're gonna look at this route. I have it sitting in front of me right now. Now I want you to know, you can see my mouse right here. This is Folsom Lake, where I live by, and if you live in this area, doing a lake loop means that you're riding around Folsom Lake. This is like a 55, 60 mile loop. Now, if you live closer to Lake Tahoe, doing a lake loop means that you're riding around the lake. This is like a 72 mile loop. So the fact that we're linking up both of these is really insane and very satisfying to look at, but it's just a reminder of how huge it is, and we're gonna look at the whole profile, but I want you to know that this route is 321 miles and 30,100 feet of elevation. It's like the craziest thing I've ever looked at. I'm so stoked I get an opportunity to do this. Now, there's some really scenic portions of this route, and before I talk about what it's gonna look like visually on camera, let's just look at the actual profile itself, which is right here. I said in the podcast, I mean, this thing looks like kind of like a castle, but at the same time, it's crazy how much rolling there is in the beginning. And you know, I'm pretty much climbing for the first 85 miles, and this is where I get to Donner Lake, so we can actually show you guys here. I'm just gonna go up the route and we'll talk about it as I go. So this right here, these are all local roads I'm very familiar with. So it'll be a good start to the day early on. Once we get to this point, I'm starting to get into territory I'm not as familiar with. And we actually have a dirt section that's like 10 miles. That should be doable on the tarmac. I will have 32 tires on the tarmac. And that goes, I think, right about this zone. Because once we get here, we're gonna pop onto the freeway. And I know that sounds illegal because it is in most areas, but this like 2 or 3 mile section is legal. And I'm having multiple people look into it because we wanna make sure this is a completely legal route. But it's legal because there's no other way to pass through those two sections, I think, besides single track, and even then it's like wildly out of the way, and that's why I think it is legal. But you guys can correct me, let me know in the comments what you think. I know a lot of people who have done this, and so again, we're looking into it, but we'll see. Now this right here, this is Donner Lake. This is going to be one of the most beautiful sections of the entire ride. Drops down to Donner, and then we have some nice flat until we climb up and over Brockway Summit where North Star is before dropping to the lake. Now from the lake, this whole zone is climbing back up and over Mount Rose, which takes us to 8,600 feet. And just for perspective, my house is at 142 feet where we're starting. So the drastic difference in elevation is wild. There's gonna be a lot of ear popping. And then you have a monster descent, like 4K descent all the way back down into the south part of Reno. Then we climb up Geiger Grade, which is beautiful. And then we're gonna roll back through Virginia City, back on the lake, this whole zone. This is like Zephyr Cove, where a lot of people go to vacation, absolutely beautiful. And then once we get to this portion, normally I stay for the lake and ride around it. And I've never actually seen a lot of these. I've driven a lot of these roads, but I haven't been on any of this stuff. Like this is more south than I've been. And this should all be new for me. But once I get back to this zone, this is actually where I've spent a lot of years mountain biking. So I feel like this whole portion, yeah, there's a lot of descending. I think it's just gonna be very surreal and full circle feeling because I've spent so many years here on the mountain bike. So I'm really stoked about that. And then once we get back into like Placerville, I mean, it's just crazy. This looks like it's close on the map, but in my head, I would need at least 4 hours to make a ride to Placerville worth it. To put it in perspective, like if I was gonna do a normal loop and be like, all right, we're gonna go into Placerville, I would need like 4 hours, minimally. And I'm probably gonna be 30 minutes to an hour later than I promised my wife. I think getting to this zone is gonna feel like home free because this is like Green Valley Road. This is again back on very local roads where I do most of my riding on. But who knows what time of day it's gonna be. I'm really aiming for that 24-hour mark. I don't necessarily have a time goal because I'm really focused on finishing. But if I had to really guess, I do think it'll be around 24 hours. And I'm cool with that. Like, performance-wise, completing this route in one pull without sleeping, without anything that would maybe make this not technically one ride, that's what I want to do. I want this to be the biggest loop that I've ever done and that most people have ever heard of. So that's the plan, that's the loop. This is Everest Roam option 1 that we are fine tuning, and I can't wait to bring you guys along for the journey. So please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Please give this video a thumbs up so it actually pops up in your feed the next time a video goes live. We are gonna be documenting the whole thing. It's self-supported, but the goal is to inspire people to do something epic from their front door. And that's why I want to do it self-supported, so it's accessible for people to do, because everyone's got that loop in their head that they've thought of doing, but they haven't really committed to because it's big or time or whatever. And this is one of those for me. So we're going to commit to it, and I really challenge you guys to do the same. So let me know in the comments how you would want to see that played out on video, and hopefully we'll get a lot of buddies out there with it, with me riding. So that's it. I'm excited for this journey. We're gonna train hard for it, and we're gonna take you guys along for the ride. Until next week, start moving forward.